Hello. So today, I'm gonna read the Legend of Cupid and Psyche. Um, this is Bob, by the way, which you don't. Christine has requested this, and she also asked me to dedicate this to Lexi for her coming of age. So without further ado, envious and jealous of the beauty of a mortal girl named Psyche, Venus asks her son Cupid, known to the Greeks as Eros, to use his golden arrows while Psyche sleeps, so that when she awakes, Venus would have already placed a vile creature to fall in love with. Cupid finally agrees to her commands after a long and losing debate. As he flies to Psyche's room at night, he turns himself invisible so no one can see him fly in through her window. He takes pity on her, for she was born too beautiful for her own safety. As he slowly approaches, careful not to make a sound, he readies one of his golden arrows. He leans over Psyche while she is asleep, and before he can scratch her shoulder with the arrow, he awakens, startling him, for she looks right into his eyes, despite his invisibility. This causes him to scratch himself with his arrow, falling deeply in love with her. He cannot continue his mission. For every passing second, he finds her more appealing. He reports back to Venus shortly after the news enrages her. Venus places a curse on Psyche that keeps her from meeting a suitable husband, or any husband at all at that. As she does this, it upsets Cupid greatly, and he decides as long as the curse stays on Psyche, he will no longer shoot arrows, which will cause Venus's temple to fall. After months of no one, man or animal, falling in love, marrying, or mating, the earth starts to grow old, which causes concern to Venus, for nobody praises her for Cupid's actions. Finally, she agrees to listen to Cupid's demands, according him one thing to have his own way. Cupid desires Psyche. Venus, upset, agrees to this demand only if he begins to work immediately. He accepts the offer and takes off, shooting his golden arrows as fast as he can, restoring everything to the way it should be. People again fall in love and marry, animals far and wide mate, and the earth begins to look young once again. When all continue to admire and praise Psyche's beauty, but none desire her as a wife, Psyche's parents consult an oracle, which tells them to leave Psyche on the nearest mountain, for her beauty is so great that she is not meant for mortal man. Terrified, they have no choice but to follow the oracle's instructions. But then Zephyrus, the west wind, carries Psyche away to a fair valley and a magnificent palace where she is attended by invisible servants until nightfall. And in the darkness of night, the promised bridegroom arrives and the marriage is consummated. Cupid visits her every night to sleep with her, but demands that she never light any lamps, since he does not want her to know who is until the time is right. Cupid allows Zephyrus to take Psyche back to her sisters and bring all three down to the palace during the day, but warns that Psyche should not listen to any argument, that she shouldn't try to discover his true form. The two jealous sisters tell Psyche, then pregnant with Cupid's child, that rumor is that she had married a great and terrible serpent, who would devour her and her unborn child when the time came for it to be fed. They urge Psyche to conceal a knife and an oil lamp in the bedchamber to wait for her husband to fall asleep, and then to light the lamp and slay him at once if it is as they have said. Psyche sadly follows their advice. In the light of the lamp, Psyche recognizes the fair form on the bed as the god Cupid himself. However, she accidentally pricks herself with one of his arrows and is consumed with the desire for her husband. She begins to kiss him, but as she does, a drop of oil falls from the lamp onto Cupid's shoulder and wakes him. He flies away, and she falls from the window to the ground, sick at heart. Psyche then finds herself in the city where one of her jealous elder sister lives. She then tells what had happened, then tricks her sisters into believing that Cupid had chosen her as a wife on a mountaintop. Psyche later meets her other sister and deceives her likewise. Each sister goes to the top of the peak and jumps down eagerly, but Zephyrus does not bear them and they fall to their deaths at the base of the mountain. Psyche searches far and wide for her lover, finally stumbling into a temple where everything is in slovenly disarray. As Psyche is sorting out and clearing the mess, Ceres appears, but refuses any help beyond advising Psyche that she must call directly on Venus, who caused all the problems in the first place. Psyche next calls on Juno and her temple, but Juno gives her the same advice, so Psyche finds a temple to Venus and enters it. Venus then orders Psyche to separate all the grains in a large basket of mixed kinds before nightfall. An ant takes pity on Psyche, and with its ant companions separates the grains for her. Venus is outraged at her success and tells her to go into the field where golden sheep graze and retrieve some golden wool. A river god tells Psyche that the sheep are vicious and strong and will kill her, but if she waits until noontime, the sheep will go to the shade on the other side of the field and sleep, so she can then pick the wool that sticks to the branches and the barks of the trees. Venus asks for the water flowing from a cleft that is impossible for a mortal to attain and is also guarded by great serpents. This time an eagle performs the task for Psyche. Venus, furious at Psyche's survival, claims that the stress of caring for her son, made depressed and ill as a result of Psyche's lack of faith, has caused her to lose some of her beauty. Psyche is to go to the underworld and ask the queen of the underworld, Proserpina, to place a bit of her own beauty in a box that Venus had given to Psyche. Psyche decides that the quickest way to the underworld is to throw herself off some high place and die, and so she climbs to the top of a tower, but the tower itself speaks to Psyche and tells her the route that will allow her to enter the underworld alive and return again, as well as telling her how to get past Cerberus, how to avoid other dangers on the way there and back, and most importantly, to eat nothing but coarse bread in the underworld, as eating anything else would trap her there forever. Psyche follows the orders precisely, rejecting all but bread while beneath the earth. However, once Psyche has left the underworld, she decides to open the box and take a little bit of the beauty for herself. Inside, she can see no beauty. Instead, an infernal sleep arises from the box and overcomes her. Cupid, who had forgiven Psyche, flies to her, wipes the sleep from her face, puts it back in the box, and sends her back on her way. Then Cupid flies to Mount Olympus and begs Jupiter to aid them. Jupiter calls for a full formal council of the gods and declares that it is his will that Cupid marry Psyche. Jupiter then has Psyche fetched to Mount Olympus and gives her a drink made from ambrosia, granting her immortality. Begrudgingly, Venus and Psyche forgive each other. Psyche and Cupid have a daughter called Voluptas, the goddess of sensual pleasures, whose Latin name means pleasure or bliss. And that is it for this reading. Thank you, Christine, for requesting this one, and congratulations, Lexi. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Email me your requests at bobreadstuff@gmail.com. Thank you.